It is brew day, and today I'm going to be brewing a triple batch of a Saison. I'm going to be trying a few different things with this. First of all, I'm going to do a yeast experiment. Two carboys will be receiving one particular strain of yeast, and the third will receive another one. And one of those first two, I'm also going to be dosing with some black currants to do a black currant Saison. I am excited about this. Now, just to look at the grist here. So I've got, I'm using 3 malts. My base malt is Weyermann Pilsner, and that's 77% of the grist. I've got their Wiener malts, their Vienna here, and that's making up 10% of the grist. And then I've got rye malt, and that's 8%. And then I'm also going to use 5% just white table sugar in this. Normally I don't in my Saisons. I usually go for just like an all malt Saison, and with the one particular yeast strain that I'm using today, I usually wind up with a finishing gravity of about 1007. Today I'm looking to see if I can just dry it out just a touch more, so 5% table sugar should be able to achieve that for me. We'll find out. Anyway, it is time to get this milling here. To do that in the little malt mill. This will take just a couple of minutes and I'll plow through all this grain, and then I'm pretty much at my strike temp already. Alright, so I'm ready to mash in here now. With this water I had thrown in a little pH stabilizer just because of my home's water chemistry and the fact that this is rather light beer. Just want to make sure that mash pH stays okay. So I'm just going to dough in here. Now I've got this water set so that I'm going to be able to do a protein rest here right off the bat at 51.7 Celsius or around 125 Fahrenheit. I'm going to let it sit here for 20 minutes or so just to do that, just to possibly clean up the finished product a little bit visually. Well, there we go, and yeah, doing a little recirc on this. Awesome, so in 20 minutes we'll begin to step up. Okay, so after my 20 minutes there, a little protein rest, I'm just going to jump my temperature up here to 62.8 Celsius or around 145 Fahrenheit, do a beta amylase rest, and yeah, we'll do that for 45 minutes, then we're going to step up for an alpha. Well, looks like things are starting to clear up a little bit here. It's been the 45 minutes, so now I'm going to be stepping up to 67.8 Celsius or around 154 Fahrenheit. And once it hits that temperature, we're going to let it sit for 45 minutes. Ooh, and just like magic, after that 45 minutes of that alpha rest there, beautiful, nice clear wort. Looks like everything's fully converted. So now I'm just going to take things up to my mash out temp of 75 Celsius, which is up in that 168 Fahrenheit range. And once it's at that temperature, I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes just to make sure that it is nice and thoroughly heated through. Alright, so I've begun the process of my lautering and fly sparge going on here. So as you can see, whew, it's a little steamy in there in the boiled kettle. I've got a little bit of the wort in there. I'm going to be adding actually some first wort hops to this beer. This is 42 grams of Pacific Gem. So I haven't actually brewed with this hop before, but I'm excited by what they talk about blackberry and oak notes and whatnot. I think that'll go great in a Saison, and also play really nicely with the black currants in that particular version. So I'm going to go ahead and add this, and since it's only 42 grams, I'm not worried about like a whole ton of hop flavor coming out of the first wort hop, but that is enough to give me 20 IBU, which I think will be really nice for this kind of lower ABV, lower original gravity Saison. Alright, and we're ready to flame on, so I'm going to try the whole single-handed setup here. See if we can burn myself. Woo! Alright, flame on! Alright, so as I'm kind of getting close to where I need to be here for my volume, I'm just going to add this table sugar. So like I had said before, this was 5% of the fermentables in here, which worked out to 620 grams. So I'm just getting that in here, and then I'm going to give it a nice stir up so it's not stuck on the bottom burning. So I could have added that sugar later on during the boil and whatnot, but I like to add it now just so I have a more accurate volume, because if I add it later on, it might displace just a little bit. Oh, this is my favorite part. These things are kind of heating up here, getting ready to hit a boil. It's super fun when you have those first wort hops in here because they create a little bit of a mat that it has to blast through. But anyway, as soon as this hits a boil with which I'm happy, I'm going to set a 90-minute timer for this boil. We're going with an hour and a half just because it's a Pilsner-based beer. And yeah, there's really nothing to do until likely around 10 minutes left with a finding edition. Alright, so we just flamed out here, and I'm going to add the Aroma Edition here, so the flameout edition. It's more Pacific Gem hops. It was 84 grams for this 15-gallon batch, and I'm going to go ahead and whirlpool this. With 10 minutes left, I did add a little bit of super moss, just as a bit of a fining agent to help with clarity in the finished product. And I'm just going to get a nice little whirlpool here, and then I will cap it with the lid, give it about 15 minutes or so, and then we will be ready to transfer into carboys. So after that little rest there, runoff has begun. So I'll be filling these 3 carboys and getting them into the brewery so that they can get all nicely heated up and ready for the yeast. Well, the original gravity came in at 1047, which was about 2 points higher than originally projected, but either way, this will make for hopefully a brilliant Saison. All right, so I'm ready to pitch here. So I've got a very active, healthy starter here of some Brewtek Saison yeast. So I'm just going to pop this off here. The only trick with these sort of double batches of yeast is trying to eyeball exactly right around where half might be. Just about there. A little bit more. All right, good enough. And then, let's get this over to the other one. So just before I started this particular clip here, I did aerate these for about a minute, just some really nice rocking of the carboys. You can see that there's still some foam in there from that. Perfect. So I've got these sitting at 75 Fahrenheit. This is where they're going to ferment until I want to start stepping up the temperature. I don't have the yeast ready yet. It was in a smack pack for that other one, but these were ready, so I just wanted to get those pitched because that yeast was raring to go. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to get these fermenting here and we'll see how they turn out. So I just came down the next morning here, so it's been 16 hours, and these two into which I pitched the Brewtek CL380 are definitely fermenting away happily. This other one received an Escarpment Labs Fruit Bomb Saison blend last night, and so it's several hours behind, but you can already kind of see some of those telltale signs of the beginning of Krausen. So we'll see how much longer that takes to get fermenting actively. Well, the Saison blend is happily fermenting now. It took probably a few hours longer lag time than it was actually behind the other ones. So just a little bit slower to get kicking off, but everything's looking just beautiful down here. Alrighty, and here I've got 2.5 pounds of black currants that were frozen, and then I thawed them out in this vacuum seal bag, and now I'm just going to use my Anova and pasteurize them at 130 Fahrenheit for a couple hours. Alright, so I'm ready to add my black currants here, as things are just kind of dying down a little bit here. So I've taken this mesh bag and I've got it all sanitized. I've sort of set it over top of this completely sanitized carboy, sort of like, I like to think of it like a garbage bag style layout, even though that's kind of gross, given that this is a sweet, delicious beverage. And obviously sanitized the funnel as well as this spoon. So we're just going to go ahead and dump everything into here. And once it's in here, we're going to start to go ahead and probe it in. All right, so as you can see, some of this juice from the black currants is already getting down into there. I'm just going to sit here and plunge everything down into this bag, and once it is in there, I'm going to tie it up. All right, so I've got 2.5 pounds of black currants into there. So now, just to prevent any kind of an issue, when I go to transfer out, I'm just going to tie this all up and get it back down in there. All right, so there we go. You can immediately see a huge color difference, and I'm sure that's just going to keep getting a little bit more awesome here. So anyway, I'm going to keep letting these 3 beers happily ferment away, and soon enough it'll be time to crash cool. So not quite 12 hours later, it's just the next morning. Taking a look here, some fermentation is obviously kind of re-kicked off more vigorously here with these black currants in there. So yeah, that's super fun. So these Saisons have been fermenting for a little while here. The black currant one is pretty much done. So I've taken it off the heat. You can see that the yeast is dropping out of suspension. I'm still swirling this this just regular Saison here a few times a day just to keep the yeast up and going, because it wasn't quite where I wanted it gravity-wise. And then this one here with that Escarpment blend, I can see the beginning of what looks like some Brett bubbles going on the top of it, and there was some Brett in that blend. So I'm no longer rousing this. I'm just going to kind of see what happens here, and then get a gravity reading and a sample of this I don't know, in a few days. Okay, well, all 3 of these carboys here wrapped up at 10:06, so I'm just killing the heat. Actually, I killed the heat on this one just the other day. It's got a little bit of clarity starting to happen there. I killed the heat also on this Escarpment mixed one there the other day, and killing the heat on this one now. You can see some stuff's already starting to fall there. So I took these Saisons off the heat and removed the heat wraps and all that kind of stuff. Let them sit for a few days just to let a little bit of that yeast kind of settle out naturally. And now I'm going to pressure transfer them into kegs, and from there also chill those kegs down and gelatin fine. I've got videos on pressure transferring and gelatin fining and sanitizing quartering kegs all on the channel if you want to check those out. Oh, what fresh hell is this? We're gonna need forensics. It is the moment of truth. We have 3 Saisons and 1 excited drinker right here. So just to refresh your memory, they all started out at 10:47 original gravity, all finished at 10:06. This first one that I'll be sampling was the one that was fermented with the Escarpment, that Saison blend. Oh, that's super cool. It's funky, almost like a little woody. There's some serious, like, tangy twang to it. That's a term that I'm making up right now. Very exciting. Almost like a touch of kind of like citrusy to it. Super fun. And while it's super crisp and whatnot, it's almost a little creamy. It's very, very interesting. Directly on, wasting no time, to the Brewtek Saison strain fermentation. This one, the flavors, actually not super different, because this is also sort of like a fairly funky strain. Finishes feeling kind of tasting reasonably bitter, but again, just crisp. Not quite as creamy tasting as the other one, though. Very delightful. And then finally, this awesome black currant one. Take a good look at that. Like, that color is freaking just delightful. Super cool. Like juice. Smells incredibly different. And it tastes so much of that black currant in there. It's there's like a little bit of berry. There's almost kind of like a woodiness to it from those black currants. A lot of kind of tannic astringency as well, but pairs very, very well with that Brewtek Saison strain. So super happy with this particular experiment. It's always fun to compare yeasts, but then also doing it, throwing a fruit mix in there too is really fun. So yeah,
good times. And till next time, keep brewing 11.